What's up, Flipball Group? It's Natalie here. Today, I'm going to go over 6 major milestones in the evolution of the modern diet. How many times have you said, I can't stop at one, or I have an insane sweet tooth? I know I am guilty at all of those sayings. We start to think we can't get healthier because these are programmed into our genes or the way our brains are wired. Well, unfortunately, we live in a time where many of the foods offered to us were created to make you want more, not really nourish and sustain you. Because of degradation of our food supply and a disconnect from the innate wisdom of our bodies, we are more addicted to food, yet unsatisfied by food, and are plagued with chronic diseases. So let's take a brief look at the history of the human diet and its evolution to the modern diet we see today to get a solid understanding of how we've strayed so far from the nutrient-dense diet of whole foods that sustain the human race for over 60,000 generations. So let's start with the first human diet. Thousands of years ago, humans were hunting and gathering their food, very much unlike how we get our food today. You may be familiar with services like Instacart, Amazon Pantry, or DoorDash, which bring you groceries and fast food without you ever having to leave the comfort of your home or office. I know I've used this quite a few times. But hunting and gathering meant that humans were active and they worked hard for their food. They ate what was available, so it was seasonal and local. These whole foods were also minimally processed and nutrient-dense. Contrary to the popular belief that paleo was the first human diet, humans ate differently based on their location around the globe. Some ate mainly animal fat, while others noshed on plants, my favorite, but the commonality between humans was that they were all omnivores. There was little evidence of chronic disease like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, or obesity that we see today. So here's the thing. Biologically, we still have the same needs as our human ancestors. Our genes are 99% the same. So again, how have we become so sick, immobile, and plagued with disease? We're going to take a look at the 6 major milestones leading to the evolution of the modern diet, which can help explain this and give us insight onto how to heal our bodies, remind us of our ancestral wisdom, and improve our health for generations to come. Let's take a look. So let's start with the agricultural revolution, which started about 10,000 BC. This change occurred when humans started settling into colonies, towns, and cities, and humans adopted farming practices, harvesting crops, and domesticating animals. This was a step towards a better life for humans, but it came with consequences. Degradation of soil occurred, resulting in a loss of nutrients in crops. Humans saw a loss of bone density and an increase in communicable diseases. Societies formed hierarchies, and inequality, slavery, and genocide came about. Let's move next to the introduction of refined sugar, which started about the 1600s. The wealthy were the first to indulge in refined sugar, but it became cheaper and easier to produce. It became more accessible to the general population. Human consumption surged from a few pounds per person per year to 150 to 250 pounds per person per year. If you head to the grocery store these days and study the label on virtually any packaged good, you are bound to find sugar. Sugar has 0 nutrients and is harmful to human health. Let's move to the Industrial Revolution next. The mid-1800s to 1900s it took place. This milestone not only changed how we eat, but how we moved our bodies and our activity level. To keep up with feeding a huge increase in population, machines took the place of human labor. Processed foods were more prevalent, and white flour, vegetable oil, and sugar made up about 50% of humans' daily food intake. Not only were we eating less whole, real foods, we were moving less and connecting with nature less. Big problem there. Next is the rise of big food, which occurred the late 1800s to 1900s. All of your favorite name brands as a kid, like Kellogg's, Nestle, Coca-Cola, General Mills, they all came to power, marketing processed packaged foods as healthy in many of their products. Sure, they were convenient, but they were completely devoid of nutrients. The company carved out a for-profit industry without your best interest in health at mind. Next, the Chemical Revolution, which occurred the mid-1940s and during World War II especially. During World War II, soldiers needed food that could be packed into meal kits for soldiers and shipped overseas. Goldfish, juice boxes, and even the cheese powder on Cheetos resulted from this era. These foods were a necessity for global circumstance and are essentially devoid of nutrients and leave us unsatisfied and hungry for more. And yet, we tend to put them in our kids' lunchboxes, or they're prevalent in our vending machines at work. The next and final revolution was the digital revolution, which started in the 1970s and has come to present day. Technology has been an amazing way to bring the world together by increasing communication and access to information. But in the same way, it has made us our most sedentary and isolated ever. Have you ever had a night out where you barely remember having a full conversation because you were on your phone the whole time? Yep. We're spending more time consuming digital content than getting outside, moving our bodies, socializing, or taking time to prepare meals and set aside time to enjoy them with others. So, after understanding where we have come from as humans, from hunting and gathering our own food, moving our bodies to stay warm, safe, and nourished, and spending time outdoors in smaller tribal units, to barely leaving the house because we can have packaged convenient foods delivered to our doors, we can see the need to return to a more intentional and thoughtful way of how we consume foods, what we consume, and who we consume them with. So there you have it. Now your question. So how do we come full circle from a lifestyle that sustained human species for over 60,000 generations to one where we are sicker, unhappier, more sedentary, less intimate, and more isolated than ever? We need to become more intentional about the foods we eat, how we prepare them, and the amount of movement we get in our daily lives. Sure, convenience is great, but it's left us constantly wanting more and wondering why we are plagued with chronic physical and mental illnesses of today. So we have tons of excuses as to why we simply can't eat better. No time, too expensive, doesn't taste as good, picky eaters in the house. All valid, but also all fixable. Try to budget for organic when possible. Carve out family time to make each meal instead of watching TV or going out to a restaurant. The more you incorporate whole, nutrient-dense foods back into your diet, the more your ancestral wisdom and instinct will be turned on. Think of a cat or dog. They always smell their food before they eat it because they have the instinct to eat what is most satisfying and what is going to keep them alive. I don't know you, but I don't know a cat who is going to choose kibble over a real piece of meat. When you start to reacquaint yourself with taste and instinct, you'll start to crave those foods that make you feel good from the inside out and give you tons of energy. So start exploring by adding one new food into your diet each week and take out one processed, sweetened, overly salty food. So after reviewing who we are as humans biologically and the shifts that have brought us here today, I hope you understand that it's not that you lack willpower or have an infamous sweet tooth. Industry, advancement, and convenience has all changed our palates and lifestyle. Making the choice to return to our ancestral wisdom may help prevent future chronic diseases, give you a better, fuller life, and remind you that food is life-giving and shouldn't be life-sucking.